Scoodly doodly doo, it's time for another Welch review. Scoodly doodly doo doo.
Evening, gang.
Welcome to the Welch Review.
We're your hosts, Sam and Stefen.
Yeah, and today we're talking about Godzilla vs. Kong. It's an exciting film, and I hope that you all enjoy.
Oh.
Yeah, you might need that.
Yep. It's perhaps one of the biggest releases for like theaters, but also like for a streaming service, right? I know it's certainly been something everyone's been like, Godzilla vs. Kong, you know, like
who's gonna win?
There's been a lot of speculation about who is going to become is the alpha, right?
Yeah.
Who is the heavy hitter?
Will the monkey get lightning fist powers like he did in the last movie? Well, because he had lightning powers for some reason in the original Godzilla vs. King Kong.
Oh, right. Yes.
You know, will the god of the land, smack him down? But we're not actually going to tell you.
Yeah, you got to still watch that.
Yeah. But what do we got?
So real quick, I just want to point out, so this version, right, the 2021 version is called Godzilla vs. Kong. The original movie, right, from 1962 was called King Kong vs. Godzilla. So obviously there's some little bit of a play on words here. They flipped who comes first in this one, and they've scratched King off of Kong.
Yeah.
So just a little tidbit there. Now, actually, in this movie, we have Alexander Skarsgård as Dr. Nathan Lind, and you might recognize Alexander Skarsgård because he played Tarzan in that new Tarzan movie.
Oh, okay.
He was also in the Duncan Jones film Mute that was on Netflix. He was also in Pretty Little Lies on HBO a couple years ago. He played the abusive husband.
Wait, this is the scientist dude?
Yeah, the one who thinks like that scene means brave, but it means coward.
Yeah. Okay, keep going.
So that's it. But Skarsgård, that name, his brother is Bill Skarsgård, who played It, the clown.
Oh.
Yeah, and his dad is Peter Skarsgård, who played Matt Damon's therapist. Oh, not therapist, math teacher at Harvard in Good Will Hunting.
That's cool.
So his whole family are actors.
Yeah.
It's like what they do. And his other brother is Floki from Vikings.
What?
Yeah.
What a weird mashup.
Yeah. So
wait, are they from Norway?
There's something like that.
Okay, keep
yeah,
going.
They're definitely Norse. But anyway, then you got Millie Bobby Brown reprising her role as Madison Russell from Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Yeah.
She doesn't really need much of an introduction. You know her from Stranger Things, among and Enola Holmes, which is also on Netflix.
Yeah, I have to watch that.
No, it looks good. Then you also have Rebecca Hall as Eileen Andrews, right? She plays the Kong Whisperer, is what a magazine calls her.
Yeah. She's Jane Goodall for Giant Monkeys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Jane Goodall for Anyway,
yeah.
So Dr. Jane Goodall for Giant Monkeys. You might recognize her from Iron Man 3.
Okay.
She was in that
Did
one.
she blow herself up?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's that girl.
Okay.
She was also in The Gift. She was the wife of Jason Bateman.
I don't remember The Gift off the top of my head.
Good movie. Definitely check that out. But anyway, then you got Brian Tyree Henry as Bernie Hayes. I can't wait to talk about him.
Bernie Hayes is great.
You might recognize him from the TV show Atlanta. He plays the rapper Paperboy in that. He was also in Joker. The most recent version. He was the attendant in Arkham.
Yeah,
and
he's the guy who gives Joker the papers on his childhood. Yeah, his mother.
And he was also in the film Hotel Artemis, which was real good. And he's actually going to be in the Marvel movie The Eternals. So he's been in both the DC and Marvel picture. And
that's the vampire one, right? Eternal?
No, that's Morbius.
Oh, I want to see that.
That both look good, but Morbius looks way cooler. Then you have Shun Oguri as Ren Serizawa, right? So he plays Dr. Serizawa's son.
Yep.
In this movie. We have Julian Dennison as Josh Valentin. And you'd recognize Julian from Deadpool 2. He plays the kid.
Yeah, he plays Burning Fist.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
He has a dumber name.
Yeah.
But he was also in The Hunt for Wilder People, the Taika Waititi film.
I haven't seen that.
It's not bad.
I need to watch more Taika Waititi.
We have Isa Gonzalez as Maya Simmons, right? And you might know her from Baby Driver or Alita Battle Angel or Cutthroat City. So she's had kind of a couple big years being in various.
That's
films.
who that was.
Yeah.
The lady who plays the daughter of the. Okay, all right.
Then you have Lance Reddick as Gillerman, but he's drastically underutilized. But it's always good seeing Lance
Yeah,
Reddick.
he has like 2 seconds of screen time.
And it's worth every second. You'll know him as John Wick from John Wick. He plays the concierge who signs John in every time. He says, Mr. Wick.
Yeah.
Right? He's real cool. He was also in the film The Guest, which I will touch on later. And then we have Kyle Chandler as Mark Russell, right? So reprising his role again from Godzilla King of the Monsters. So this is his second Kong movie.
Yep.
Because he was in the Peter Jackson one originally as one of the actors who Denham was filming on Skull Island. Then we have Demian Burchier as Walter Simmons, and you might recognize him from The Nun, right? That part of that, God, what's the name of that horror franchise? The Conjuring, right?
Okay.
It's part of that franchise. And he was in The Hateful Eight. He played Bob the Mexican.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, it's in the middle. Then you have Kaylee Hoddle as Gia, or Jaya, however you pronounce it, and this is her first, big role. Then you have Chris Chalk as Ben. Chris Chalk is someone to watch out for. He broke out on the show Perry Mason.
Okay.
And then you have Hakeem Kai Kazim as Admiral Wilcox, and he played Zeus in the Netflix version of Troy.
Oh, okay.
And he was also in Hotel Rwanda and Black Sails.
Nice.
And then the story for this version of Godzilla vs. Kong was by Terry Rossio, Zach Shields, and Michael Dougherty. And Michael Dougherty was the previous screenwriter and director of Godzilla King of the Monsters. So there was some, continuation over. And then the screenplay was by Eric Pearson and Max Bornstein. Now, Max Bornstein wrote Kong Skull Island and, the first remake in this new franchise of Godzilla. So the one from 2014. So he's written, 3 out of the 4 of the MonsterVerse films.
Dang.
And then this movie was directed by Adam Wingard, who has had, a spotty rise to, prominence.
Yeah.
Right? He made the film The Guest that I mentioned, which had Lance Reddick in it, so it's cool that, he's hey, man, I'm doing this big thing,
You want in?
you started with me at the bottom,
Now we're here.
now we're here. But he also did You're Next, which was also pretty good. But then he did the movie Death Note for Netflix, which I heard was god-awful.
Yeah, don't ever make an anime adaptation for a movie. It's normally a mistake.
Okay, so keep that in mind, all of you out there. But yeah, so he did Death Note. So you take that with what you will if you've seen it. And then he also did the Blair Witch sequel / small slight reboot that came out a couple years ago as well. So well versed in the whole horror idea, but definitely hasn't worked with budgets quite like this.
Yeah.
And that's our cast, where you may have seen them, and who's behind the camera and then behind the pen that wrote it.
Yeah.
So
right.
Why don't you hit us with it's kind of self-explanatory, Godzilla versus Kong, but
yeah. So
in your own fun way.
So in Godzilla vs. Kong, you have 2 main storylines going at any given time. There is what's going on with Kong and Big Monkey Jane Goodall and their group. And then there's what's going on with, I'm just going to refer to her as 11 because everybody's going to know her from that.
Madison Russell?
What's going on with Madison Russell, who, is 11 from Stranger Things, and Burning Fist from Deadpool 2.
And Bernie.
And Bernie. So, the movie starts off with this, with Kong, right? Kong and the Kong Whisperer. Kong's still on Skull Island, but now he's in this enclosure because Skull Island has been consumed by a storm for a couple of years. All of the locals have died except for this one little girl because they got killed by the storm. And our Kong Whisperer, Jane Goodall, basically adopts this girl, Gia. And Gia is homies with Kong. So it's kind of mutually beneficial. Gia is also deaf. And she doesn't speak, she just signs, which is cool, good for Gia. She can communicate. On the other hand, it brings us into where Bernie's at, and Bernie is kind of a conspiracy theorist. He has a podcast where he talks about
The Titan Truth podcast.
The Titan Truth podcast, where he talks about how, basically what's going on with Titans and how people are meddling with them and like trying to screw over Godzilla. At least at this specific moment, right? So the group that's trying to screw with Godzilla is a company named Apex, and they're down in Florida. Apex.
Everything evil's in Florida.
Yeah. Apex has this machine that Godzilla seems kind of keen to destroy. So Godzilla rolls in, wrecks Apex while Bernie's stealing some information on whatever Apex is meddling with, right? Whatever they're secretively working on. And everybody's now like, oh, look, Godzilla bad guy. We don't like Godzilla.
Zilla, no.
Zilla, no. So because everybody's pissed at Godzilla, these people are like, the Apex people are like, hey, if we can find out how to get into Hollow Earth, because that's a theory in this show, that Earth is hollow and that's where all of the big monsters came from and got their power originally, and like there's a whole new ecosystem down there as big as an ocean, right? So they're like, there's the power source down here. We can use this power source to defeat Godzilla. So that's where we come to our main character, our scientist, our man who played Tarzan.
I didn't even think of that. Right, Tarzan, Lord of the Apes, and he's chilling with a big old monkey, old gorilla.
So
arguably the biggest gorilla.
Yeah. So Tarzan goes over and he talks to Jane.
Jane! Tarzan and Jane!
That's right.
Yo!
So Tarzan goes and talks to Jane Goodall, and he's like, yo, give me the monkey. He can help guide us into Hollow Earth.
Monkey equal hole.
Exactly.
Monkey.
So, next thing we know, they got King Kong hopped up on drugs, on a boat, knocked the hell out, being transported to Antarctica because apparently that's where the only entrance into Hollow Earth that they know of is, even though they know that there's one on Skull Island where King Kong lives.
Plot holes.
Yeah. That's an okay one. I don't really care. They wanted a reason for Godzilla to fight Kong, and they got one. Because while Kong is in the ocean, Godzilla's like, I hear a monkey in these waters, and he swims on over and gets into a fight with the U.S. Navy and King Kong. This fight is in the water, and it doesn't go very well for Kong. He doesn't die, but they kind of use a BS reason for how he survives. Like, they play dead with boats, and then Godzilla's like, oh, okay, I beat him. I'm going to leave now. Bye, guys. And then they just bring Kong down to Antarctica in helicopters instead.
They're elongating it, right? They're stretching it out, and I think if you think about it, right, like we've had time to think about it, and I'm sure if you've seen it, you're thinking like, huh, that's dumb.
Yeah.
But if you don't think about it too much, you're like, yeah, okay, cool, man, that makes sense. Like he was like, yeah, I let him know who the man, like whose house this is, right?
Yeah, whose waters you're swimming in.
Exactly. Like he told them today. Like you gonna learn today. Kong learned today what the business was.
Yes.
But when you stretch it out, you're like, huh? Well,
yeah. So it's a dumb reason, but they wanted to give you a fight with Godzilla
just a little taste.
And Kong. Yeah, a taste of what's to come. So, anyways, Kong gets down to Antarctica, but at the same time, 11 in Fire Fist Boy
11 in Fire Fist
find Bernie. Who apparently they found him because Bernie bathes with bleach.
Because of spy dust.
To kill off the spy dust, which is an organic tool that companies use to find spies, right? Because Bernie's crazy a little bit. And with Bernie's help, they break into this Apex lab, and they find their way down to a hidden level, right? Floor 33, below Earth. And basically they're doing their investigating thing, trying to clear Godzilla's name, trying to figure out what's going on with Apex, and they get trapped inside of a box, which just happens to have skullcrawler eggs in it. So they're like, yo, why has Apex got skullcrawlers? If you don't remember, or if you didn't see it, skullcrawlers are the monsters from the King Kong movie. They have like 2 legs and lizard faces and lizard tails. But again, only 2 legs.
They look like what is it, Marowak? What's
Yeah,
that other
yeah,
thing?
Cubone.
Like Cubone on crack.
Yeah, like
Crack bone.
like Cubone, but he sold his legs for crack, and now he crawls everywhere and tries to eat people.
Which is, I hope that comes as the next generation of Pokemon.
Yeah, like
Just
this is the shiny version of Cubone.
It's him high. That's it.
He's just like bumping a line off of his bone.
But I think it's cool, because originally Hank Marlowe was like, it sounded a lot cooler in my head than when I said it out loud.
Yeah, but now it's caught on.
But it's caught on. That's what they used because back in Vietnam was when he named it, or before Vietnam he named it.
Yeah.
So that's the scientific term now, skull crawler.
Exactly.
But anyway, sorry. So they're trapped with skull crawlers.
Yeah, none of the skull crawlers hatch, they're fine. But they wind up in Hong Kong. And even though this is a port city that they're in, right? Apex, they made a point to state that this is the only one by the sea. The only one. Instead of being shipped to Hong Kong on a boat, there's a secret underground magna rail, right? That uses, magnetism to shoot them there.
It uses magnetism.
At super fast speeds, right? So, they're going down to Hong Kong, whatever. Kong finds his way into secret underground Hollow Earth. And here in secret underground Hollow Earth, he's not alone. He's not the only big boy in town. There's some other big boys, but these ones fly. And Kong kicks the crap out of them and eats one of their faces.
Yeah.
And eventually, he finds his way over to what we like to call the Monkey Round Table.
The Monkey Round Table!
Yeah.
Yes!
So
Prophecy!
Yeah.
The chosen one!
Yeah. So what's the Monkey Round Table?
Oh,
Steph?
Sam,
just a quick tidbit.
I'm so glad. The Monkey Round Table is essentially... oh man, it's so hard. I don't want to butcher it. But the Monkey Round Table, in short, is the Arthurian legend of a noble king of England and his knights. Well, Kong has finally found his Camelot, and he kicks the door open with his giant ape-like arms. And he soon finds, instead of the sword in the stone, the axe in the skull.
Yeah.
And by lifting it, he has become and taken his rightful place as heir to the gorilla throne.
Oh my god.
Yes.
That's a lot.
It's so amazing.
Are you Marowak on crack right now? What's going on?
It's so good. Because when we watched it, I don't mean to cut you off, man. We watched it, right? And we were like, no. There's no way, man. He opens the door, it's what's gonna be in there? A Monkey Round Table and a throne? Yep.
Yeah.
Sure. That's what happened.
He finds his axe in the skull of what is probably a dead Godzilla, right? Like a past Godzilla. He pulls it out of the skull. Then there's a literal giant throne that he sits in. There's giant stairs everywhere, right? And they're not stairs. They're like seats for big monkeys. That the big monkeys presumably used to sit in. Upon further rewatching, there's tiny doorways. So what I assume is that people actually made it, not monkeys, but that monkeys definitely used it for King Arthur type stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just like in the Godzilla, the King of the Monsters movie that came before it, Godzilla had his own throne kind of space where he was worshipped. I assume that it's the same thing except for Kong.
So they had the cult of Kong and the cult of Zilla, basically.
Yeah.
So they, as the mythology goes, right? Because it says they were constantly at war, so it makes sense, right? They had followers that also
were at war,
duked it out. Yeah. But you know what's crazy though? If that was a spin-off movie, right?
That would be really cool. We got to keep talking about this.
All right.
So, anyways, Kong
a lot.
Yes,
the King of Kong
a lot. So Godzilla figures out, he senses that Kong got to Kong a lot and found Excalibur, and finds Excalibur.
Yes.
So he does what any giant lizard that breathes nuclear breath does when they're in Hong Kong, and he shoots a hole through the center of the earth into Kong-a-Lot, right? Direct beam. He knows, he used the positioning of the moon and stars to find Kong-a-Lot. And it's kind of dumb, but it's also kind of hype, just like Kong-a-Lot itself.
Kong-a-Lot's no joke.
Kong-a-Lot is no joke. And then basically King Kong's like, hey, stop blowing holes in my house. And Godzilla's like, rah!
Make me!
So King Kong jumps down the hole because the gravity is inverse. So he can go down the down hole. You know what I mean?
So he's got to go down to get up.
He's got to go down to get up.
Oh, okay.
And he winds up in Hong Kong, and this is where the fight takes place, right? And while they're fighting, Eleven's digging up some dirt, right? The people who were down there with King Kong and Kong-a-Lot have come up to help King Kong on the land in his inevitable battles against, the God-Man himself, Mr. Zilla. So, yeah, we're gonna kind of leave it there because anything else is spoilers, right? This is where the big showdown happens in Hong Kong, not Japan.
It's nice seeing Japan get a break.
Yeah, they don't get destroyed for a minute.
Yeah,
which is a good time. But yeah, so watch the movie, check it out. There's some good stuff. We're gonna keep talking about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh man, that's such a good cutoff point because I'm like here with you, and I'm thinking, well, what happens? Like, tell me.
I feel you. Well, what's going on? What are you?
No, man. I think okay. One of the big things we've talked about when reviewing some of these like Kong and Skull Island and King of the Monsters, right?
Yep.
Was like, did this movie do justice to what it is, right? And what it is these are big monster films, right? So, do you think over the course of the 4 movies, have they finally got it down to where, like, all right, we understand what people want to see is not people acting with giant monsters in the fighting in the background, but what we want to see is giant monsters in the forefront and maybe some sort of storyline that slightly connects to it.
Like, in the background.
In the background, right? Like, that's not the, like, I don't care about what the Hollow Earth theory is. I don't care that Tarzan and Jane possibly are into each other. I just want to see Kong and Godzilla smack down.
Yeah, I think that they did a very good job in this film, and I think that they learned from King of the Monsters that having actual acting go on at the same time as your plot revolving around giant monsters fighting doesn't really work out most of the time. Right? So, while the performances in this movie weren't bad, especially compared to their predecessors, like King of the Monsters, which had horrible acting, like it was not a good film, you know, like it was good monster fight.
Right.
But there was a little too much acting, not a ton, but a little too much and not enough monster fighting. This movie was more like, I would like some acting as a side for my monster fights, which was what I think that's what people wanted.
Yeah,
and they varied it too because it wasn't just Godzilla versus Kong. There was some fighting with King Kong down in
the Hollow Earth.
Down in Hollow Earth, they set up some possible new enemies for them. They showed that King Kong, even aside from fighting Godzilla, right, because they're the 2 apexes, that he is capable of pretty easily defeating anything aside from Godzilla, right? Godzilla is like an actual fight for him, even when he has an axe, right? Godzilla just has hands and laser breath.
And a tail.
And a tail. But yeah, so he shows that he's a formidable foe, which I think is good. And it gave variation to the fights, right? Every fight was different. The first one was in water. The second one was Kong versus some random dudes. The third one was Godzilla versus buildings.
Yeah, Godzilla versus buildings.
And then
always lose.
And in the last fight, Kong has an axe that gets charged by Godzilla fire.
Yeah.
So
It's a lightsaber axe.
Yeah, they did a good job changing up the fights each time, right? And even past that, just the environments that they're in. The first fight's in the water. The second, just talking about Godzilla fights, Godzilla and Kong fights, right? The first one's in water. The second one's in a city, which is more standard for a Godzilla movie.
Right.
But it shows off their capabilities better, right? Because in a city, Kong can kind of maneuver better than Godzilla. Mm-hmm. But in the water, Godzilla, it's not an actual fight.
Well, yeah, like there's nowhere to hide, nowhere to jump, cling on.
Yeah, Godzilla can breathe underwater, and you're gonna die.
Yeah, it's plain and simple.
Yeah.
I have gills and lungs. Evolution, mother flipper.
Yeah. But yeah, no. What'd you think about the monster fights?
I-
Was there a standout?
I think. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I think with breaking down, like they've learned, right, like from each film.
Yeah.
You know, they've grown better and better. With focusing on the monster fighting. For me, the standout, I mean, Kong a lot. You know what I mean? But like that for me just was
The
like
existence of Kong a lot.
I thought it would, like, at first I was downplaying it, like giving it some crap for that, but
Yeah.
then, like, the more I watched it again, and I was like, nah, that's dope.
Yeah.
Like, that's dope. So, like, when Kong has an axe, like, okay, one, it's a giant monkey. Two, it's a giant axe that the monkey's carrying.
Yeah.
It's wild.
And it's not just an axe, it's a power axe,
Yeah.
right? It gets charged by the center of the earth
Mhm.
and by Godzilla. So it's kind of dope.
Like-
And he has a monkey throw.
Yes, dude, the monkey throne. But like, I think one of the coolest scenes was like in the final fight where he just has the axe up and he's like, "Argh!" like giving it his biggest gorilla roar, and it's just like finish him.
Yeah, there's a scene where Kong has a dislocated shoulder, and he just like runs up to a wall. And he's like, and he just smashes it back into place,
proving that he's metal.
Yeah,
Like he's a man.
Yeah. Now, full disclosure, me and Stefen are big Godzilla fans, but they made Kong very expressive, and as far as giant monkeys go, he's very relatable. I do think that that's something that King Kong movies, at least more recent ones, tend to do well. I think that the one that this one did it really well. I think the one right before this one, not so much. But then if you look at Peter Jackson, which to me is still the best King Kong movie.
Hands down. Hands down.
Yeah, like when they started shooting the monkey, I was like, get the hell away from my monkey. That's his building. He owns this city. But yeah, so they made him very expressive and relatable, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because he's just a big hairy monkey that walks in two legs.
No, dude, but even with that, right? Like the character design that they went with for Kong for this, like before, they're like, oh, he's bipedal, right? Like making him kind of, in a sense, walk less ape-like.
Yeah.
Right? But like this movie, they made him more ape-like. Like actually, I thought more like a gorilla than they did in Skull Island.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely did, especially when he's running.
Yeah. And when he was jumping like on buildings and hanging from things, like that scene where him and Godzilla are brawling, and Godzilla's clearly trying to find Kong, but he's not, and he throws the crane at him, and then he jumps like at him, like that. That's like, I want to see ape stuff. You know what I mean?
I want to see him be a monkey.
I want my monkey business.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that they had going very well for this. I thought the fights were cool. Godzilla looked a little bit looser, right? Like it was easier for him to move than in like past movies. At least that's just my opinion.
As far as the way, I didn't really like how Godzilla looked in this movie. I don't think that he was horrible, but I think that they intentionally made him look evil.
I could see
like they were setting him up as the bad guy the whole movie. And I think the reason why they did that is because this movie is super focused on King Kong.
Yeah, definitely a Kong-centric story.
Yeah, like this is more of a Kong film than it is a Godzilla versus Kong movie, right? Like Godzilla's name comes first, but Kong is like in like 90% of the shots in this film. So I wouldn't say that it's just a Kong film, but as far as Kong movies go, it's my second favorite. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's right up there, not in the same way that Peter Jackson's was, but in like a battle brawly monster throwdown.
But like there's more, I feel like there's more character development for Kong versus like you're saying where Godzilla has been like the pinnacle in the drive of most of these movies, or he's been the center of most of them, right? And they're just like, hey man, you're gonna like occasionally come in and do your thing and then split.
Yeah.
Because they're like really, like you were saying, made him look evil, made Kong look and feel like, relatable, like a human, like you feel for him.
Yeah.
So I hope when they do this again, they maybe don't do that. Like, they shouldn't do that to Godzilla.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, because he's just as important.
Yeah,
as
if
Kong,
not more.
You know? Especially, like, it's like, Kong, this is your second movie. Like,
Yeah,
on,
get in line.
Yeah, chill.
Who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are banging your chest like that?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like the monster fights that we talked about, they were pretty good. They definitely have a lot of real cool standouts. Like the actors, like you said, they weren't
I wanted to talk about that.
like they just showed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think Charles Dance does a good job, like in King of the Monsters. Like, but Charles Dance always comes prepared. When he's super evil Greenpeace.
Yeah.
I think in this one for me, the standout was Brian Tyree Henry, Bernie Hayes.
Yeah.
He was like, he looked like, one, he had the most fun making it, but two, his character was the most believable.
Yeah, like he really seemed like he could be a crackpot.
Yes.
On the internet, with a cult following.
Yeah.
Like his character was like, I've been undercover for 5 years to get this information. I could see that as being accurate. He definitely portrayed his character very well, and he's fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this movie isn't very serious. It's a fun film, which is fine, because it's about two giant monsters fighting each other.
Exactly.
And he's a fun character.
But he's like, also, like you said, he's believable in his role, right?
Yeah.
Like, he really did a good job making something believable in a film where it's like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
In real life. I think, again, another standout, Demian Bircher as Walter Simmons, right? Not because, like, he was believable as, like, a Bond villain.
Yeah.
And, like, I thought he's like, okay, cool, man, you're gonna play the bad guy. I guess that's kind of a spoiler, but, like...
Nah, it's fine. He's a bad guy.
Alright, so... But, like, he really chewed that scene up and looked like he was enjoying it.
Yeah.
So, like... Yeah, you're the bad guy, you run this corporation, you're evil, okay, have fun. You know what I mean? Like, be hammy, own it, make it your all. Like, him and Brian Tyree Henry I thought were the best. But Kyle Chandler as Mark Russell... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. I was just going to say about our bad guy, what's kind of cool is that he also isn't really a bad guy. Like, he's
His
kind
intentions.
of... Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. It'd be like if Elon Musk was the savior of the world, and that would be bad because Elon Musk is a bad person.
We got your number.
Yeah, Elon.
Your evil Musk is everywhere.
Yeah, but, like, he's trying to save the world, but the world already has saviors. You know what I mean? He just wants humans to be like the apex predators, right? He doesn't like the fact that Godzillas and King Kongs exist.
Right.
So he's trying to destroy them. So...
real quick, I was just going to say,
acting.
Kyle Chandler, right, like, as Mark Russell, he doesn't yell and whispers in this one, but it's just like, you're the worst dad. It's like, whatever, Madison, I'll see you when you get home.
I'm really glad that he had a very small part.
But it's like, you're the head of Monarch, and it's like, how come you don't... like, how are you not knowing all of this stuff or a part of this adventure? And, like, also... Why don't you know where your, like, 16-year-old daughter is? Like, after last time, like, King Ghidorah almost killed her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, he's kind of pointless. I guess it's kind of just like, oh, hey, Monarch, he runs Monarch, that's cool. Alexander Skarsgård, I don't think is, like, the best Skarsgård as an actor. You know what I mean? He played the Doctor, Tarzan
Okay,
guy.
yeah.
Like, he's okay.
Yeah.
He's okay.
I didn't really care about his character.
Yeah.
He was like, if he dies, I'll be fine.
You're not going to feel bad. I mean, Gia, that little girl, what do we got? Kaylee Hoddle.
Yeah.
She did a very good job.
I mean, she also didn't talk.
Right.
I mean...
Facial expression-wise and communicating.
Its own difficulty.
Yeah. So, like, that was cool. But, again, I would say the real standout were Brian Tyree Henry and Demian Bircher.
Yeah. Kind of ironically, I mean, maybe this was intentional, right? The cast that follows King Kong isn't, like, the best actors in the movie. The best actors in the movie are, like, Eleven, The dude who plays Bernie, Flame Fist was okay.
Julian?
Yeah, Julian was okay. He wasn't like amazing, but those other two are like the real heavy hitters of the film, and they are the ones who are pushing the plot forward, right? Anything not just involved with Kong finding the axe is pushed forward by these three characters. And I think that for the most part, they do a great job.
Yeah. They play well off each other. You know, there's a lot more like back and forth and like relatability than I think like the Kong expedition team, where they're all kind of stale and everyone's trying to be like, you know, the man and in charge, versus like these three kind of neurotic characters who are like afraid and trying to figure things out. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I like Millie Bobby Brown. I think she does a good job, right? It's nice seeing like more character development from the last film. But also, and I don't want this to sound bad, but it's like, I just think like, oh, you're just doing Stranger Things stuff. Like, you're getting involved in like, you're getting involved in strange things.
Look,
man.
It's a bigger monster you're investigating.
And you have a new team now, man.
Yeah,
like,
you got another kid. It did give very Stranger Things vibes.
Yeah,
right? When
like
they're in the car
and listen to the podcast and the creepy van, like the what are those, surveillance-esque van? Yeah.
But I mean, even if you think about it, her other TV show. She's an investigator. She's Sherlock Holmes' daughter or like sister. Yeah, so it's like you can't get away from that.
Which I mean is good though, right? It's a strong female character, so I think that's great. I'm just saying it's like, you're doing some strange things there, Billy. So like, I keep it up because it's great, but also I feel like there's you can be a little typecast, which is fine. Yeah, you know, but.
Well, overall, what did you think of the movie?
I think, at first, watching it, I was like, I don't know, man, some of that stuff was cheesy. But then like, I watched it again, and I'm thinking about it, and it's like, yeah, I want to see more of that stuff.
Give me more cheese.
I thought it was good. But like, it's not just like cheese for the sake of cheese, it's like well-placed, and it does develop character type stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah. A lot of it's kind of ridiculous and over the top, but yeah, it's well done.
Right. You're not like, that's like, that doesn't make any sense, because then you watch it again, and you're like, wow, that makes tons of sense. I totally get this.
Even if it doesn't make sense, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's really enjoyable. Like, Kong a Lot could, make some sense in its own mythos, but at the same time, I don't really care. Because it's cool.
So, like, this movie has wow factor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So much wow factor.
Like, it's so cool you forget, perhaps, like, you're like, I'm not even going to overthink this. Yeah. That's dope as hell.
Yeah.
You know?
Kind of dumb, but I love it.
I think, realistically, the only gripe I had was that first fight. Right? Where they, like, we're just going to play possum.
Yeah. Oh, we're asleep now.
Like, that part was weak. I understand why it was done, but I think, you know,
it's so weak.
They're a pretty creative bunch. They could have thought of something different.
Yeah, when you got millions and millions of dollars, you can figure out something better than playing dead.
Yeah, like, so, I mean, that's my one, like, you know, nitpicky thing. Otherwise, I thought it was really good. I think it leaves the door open, how this film ends for, you know, many more films in the Monsterverse, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
without spoiling. What are your final thoughts on the
flick? I really enjoyed it. I thought that all of the monster fights, like, these are the best monster fights that they've ever made. Like, if you think about Godzilla King of the Monsters, the fight with Ghidorah was kind of it's kind of BS at the end. Like, the way that he defeats Ghidorah, kind of dumb. And this movie doesn't do those same cop-outs when it comes to the monster fights, which is fantastic. And that was one of my biggest gripes with that film, right? The two where, like, there are too much bad acting, and the fights could be kind of lame at times. This movie has awesome fights the whole way through. It does and corrects some flaws that other, like, some holes that other movies fall into, but it does them right. And we're not going to say what those are. You're going to find out for yourself. And you're going to be like, hey, that didn't suck. I thought that it would suck. It's a pretty well-made movie. The acting's not amazing, but it's not bad. but there's also not a lot of it. And the focus is put on the title of the movie. It's put on Kong and Godzilla, which is what I wanted. So yeah, no real complaints. Great movie. It's probably my favorite Godzilla movie. It's my second favorite King Kong movie. Definitely check it out. I think that if they keep pumping this stuff out, then this franchise has a great future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, this has been the Welch Review, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Bye.